Welcome everybody to episode 76 of Dork Tunes. So this week I'm going to be chatting with not one person but two. And this week we have, I think I'll get them to introduce themselves. So Fabio, do you want to go first?
Sure. Hey everyone, I'm Fabio. I am a programmer and sound designer at Locomotive, a small indie studio in Zurich.
And then who else have we got?
And my name is Joel. I am a composer for computer games and for theater. And I've worked on two projects with Fabio.
Excellent. Okay, so we are going to actually talk about those. So obviously, Joel and Fabio, you worked on two separate games, which were Far, Lone Sails, and then Changing Tides, which just came out kind of recently. How did it come together about both of you working together on these projects?
Joel, would you like to start?
Yeah, I think it all based on the Zurich University of Arts, where there was one department of game design and another department of composition for film and theater. And there I got to meet Don Schmocker, who is the creative lead on both of the Locomotive games. And Lone Sail started off as a student project and eventually became bigger. And when it became bigger, also Fabio hopped on board and made the help to release Lone Sails. And there we got to work with each other until today.
And so, I mean, I've been playing, you'll have to excuse, by the way, I've got a couple of dogs and sometimes it can be quite noisy, like right now. And also it's extremely warm here today, so I'm boiling, as you can see. Hottest day of the year so far. So yes, anyway, so obviously you worked on Lone Sails and then Changing Tides. Listening to the soundtracks, they're extremely beautiful and very evocative in their tones. You know, how did you kind of come about the tone for the game, etc.?
I think the most important part about those two soundtracks is that everything you hear is recorded real. So there's all the instruments you're gonna hear are played by human and are not sample based, and I think that is the core of why it hopefully transports the emotions and is loved by some people.
Yeah, definitely. The video game music kind of collectors, they seem to love Fart, you know, very, very much so. And I was slightly annoyed to find out recently that it was released on vinyl and I didn't get it. And that must make you kind of feel really good and really nice when you see something like that happen, when you work on a soundtrack and then, you know, you can almost go into a store and see it there on the shelf.
Sure, it was. I mean, all of a sudden it became something in the end, and yeah, I think I was just lucky to meet those people at the right time.
Yes, and
hi there.
That's Peggy. You're the one can't keep up on
Hi, Peggy.
Adorable dog.
When she's not barking. So with Far, you say that you created all the music like with humans and you don't use any stems or anything like that in it?
Exactly, not instruments that are sample based that you would play in with a keyboard. So it was just all recreated. All the audio files you hear are unique in that way.
Okay, and was that like a conscious decision to do that?
That was really I really wanted to work like that because I found out while I was studying that this is the only workaround that pleases me and and how I want to make music. So it's not really a choice. It's just how I have to work, and not
And do you
one
think
or
that
the
would
other.
ever change?
I hope
'Cause-
not. I hope not. I hope I can still stand to my ground and still defend the way I work for the next projects. But I don't know what's gonna happen in the future.
So thinking about going back to the beginning and far Lone Sails, even now for Changing Tides, did you or do you like write out the soundtrack on sheet music or?
It's more improvisation and fiddling around with a lot of different instruments, and then writing it down on sheet is just necessary as soon as musicians come in and record.
Mhm.
So on that date where the violin player or the cellist would come in, I surely would write it all down, so the session will be more efficient.
And how many actual musicians did you work with to create the soundtracks?
Oh, I would say around, for the first game, 6 or 7, and for the second one, 8, something
Okay.
like that.
Or
I'm not
almost-
sure. Fabio, do you know that?
I think 8 is for the second might be the right number actually.
Yeah.
So that's a really tiny team that have created, you know, these incredible soundtracks that are loved by a lot of people. It must feel like a really nice feeling.
I guess, yes.
You're too modest. Like,
uh,
like for us from a developer side, like we really know that like the quality that Joel delivers, Joel and the musicians deliver is amazing, and I think it's like a huge part of what makes both of our games what they are, and how well they received and how much they are capable of emotionally engaging with the players.
Mm. And how did you
yes.
find the process of working together on the soundtracks? Was it easy? Was it kind of a long process? Actually, yeah, how long was the actual process from start to finish for making soundtracks? Because I've seen some people who have done it, done different of games, and some of them have spent maybe 6 months on it or on a project, or maybe some people have spent 3 years on a project.
Like Joel actually was part of Far Lone Sales before I joined. He was together with Don like there from the start. So that was, I think, in 2016, 15 even. But we started like implementing the music into the game only after I joined the team, which was in summer of 17. But I think, Joel, maybe you can comment on this, before that you already had a phase where you were like writing more, let's say, linear music, and like, worked a lot on finding the style for the music. And for the second project as well, like as soon as we had mood boards to show, and some visual concepts of what we wanted to do with the game, like Joel was the first to know, because of course we really wanted him to be part of the team for the second part as well.
I guess I would say it's the production phase was for both games around about 2.5 years, if I'm not wrong. But I would say, especially for the second as well, it wasn't like 2.5 years of full time for sure. It was, I would say, the last 3 months I'd consider it full time, and before it was just the luxury situation of creating something, writing something, and having the possibility to put it away as soon as it's getting on my nerves. So that's just amazing to have. I think that having a long time period is super important to create something that I'm actually happy with, because you run dry creatively sometimes, and then having the possibility to put it away and take it up again in like 4 weeks, where you do other stuff or other music, is just really, really important. So I don't know, to put it down, maybe it's like 10 months of full-time work, and just spread over some years.
Yeah, and you know, it always amazes me because I see so many composers who are working on something, and as soon as they finish that, they're working on something else, or they're working on several things at the same time. That just blows my mind, because all of the things will sound completely different. So how would you even do that? You know, I mean, you said that's not something that you do.
I've never worked on more than one game at the time. The side projects were always in a different media. So, for example, music for a play, or music for an installation or something like that, and having a different completely different field of work. That's even good for me. That's nice to have, because I have the tendency to get bored with stuff quite fast, and I'm not. It's just there has to be something on, so I feel like I'm alive.
And do you find it different that working on a game versus working on like an installation or a play or anything like that, and how you approach it and compose it?
They all have one thing in common, because they're interactive. So something else is deciding on how the music will work out. That's what I'm really interested in. But the actual process can vary quite drastically. But even inside making music for a game, I mean, different styles of games, genres would have the need of a different approach from composer, I guess.
And how did you find the style for Far?
What kind of what do you style? What style do you mean?
How did you find the style of music that you used in Far? And did you sit there and you saw the brief for the game, and you thought, right, okay, this is how I want it to sound?
Yeah, the concept arts of drawn by Don are quite important, because there's still images that are beautiful, and you can read a lot out of it when it comes to the atmosphere of the game. And then I would just make music that I like, to be honest.
Like it was like from our perspective, like what we did, or what we tried to do, was like use the concept art to brief Joel of like what the overall tone of the game was, like what the overall journey of the game was going to look like. But there were also some like more in-depth parts of the game design. For example, in the second part of our game, you have a ship, and you can submerge the ship as well. So that was something, for example, where Joel had the idea that it would be really cool to have different instruments to kind of make the music feel different when you're submerged underwater. So it's not just like the sound design in terms of sound effects that changes when you were submerged, but also the music that changes its tone and instruments.
I would say when it comes to like music as a composition itself, I'm really working in my room and trying to have it done. But as soon as it comes to the music being interactive in the game and the structure of it, it's really a close. I work quite closely together with Fabio, and we're in chats all the time on how the music could be dynamically responding to the game. As he's in charge of sound design as well, where it's really important to find a balance between all the sound design and the music at the same time. I guess when the music itself as the heart of it, I'm not really sharing much of the process before showing it to the automotive guys, but as soon as it comes to dynamic and kind of the tree thing of games, if this happens, we are working quite closely together.
Cool. And I was going to ask you something as well. and it's gone out of my mind for some reason. Just thinking about kind of, how did you find the kind of, Fabio, because obviously you did a different role from Joel, obviously Joel was the composer, how did you find it kind of working on Far for you?
Like working on both games has been really fun. When I joined Farallon Sales, I was originally supposed to be a programmer, and I had some background in, or some experience in a tool called Fmod, which is an audio middleware tool,
Yeah.
which allows to quite easily map like the logical structure of the game to with the music. And I was mainly intended to work on this, and it happens that I also got to work on the sound effects. And kind of this was something that also Joel did in the beginning of Farallon Sales, and I kind of took over because we realized that like the Far games are very physical. So for example, when the ship crashes into something, the audio needs to be able to dynamically react to how fast the player crashed into that object, for example. So it really helps to have someone who's able to program themselves when you try to iterate over these sound effects. And that's kind of how I got into the whole sound effect things. And it was really amazing for me to work together with Joel, because he has a very profound understanding of like mixing and equalizing, and a lot of the like audio craftsmanship that I didn't really have. So it was a really awesome opportunity for me to learn a lot in these aspects and like get into the whole sound effects work like this.
And Joel, did you ever write any of the music for Far, both of them, and then kind of record it and then kind of go, yeah, that's not going in, that's absolutely not?
Yeah, I'd say not that many whole finished pieces. I would say there are 2 or 3 pieces that are not in the soundtrack because they didn't fit anymore. And yeah, but when I record musicians, I would say I record with them around about 12 to 15 cues, different kind of snippet sounds, and from those 12 to 15, I would say I use 8 to 9.
Okay.
So it really depends on how the musician is feeling at that day and how he or she is performing. And sometimes it's amazing to see, because I think to myself, this will work for sure, and then we record it and it just doesn't work. It just doesn't. And at that time I don't have a problem to say goodbye to those kind of, but there are more puzzle pieces, I would say, that I get rid of. And as I work like in overdub, so every track is on the next one, not more than one musician at a time, that gives the chance to combine them new and get rid of stuff and record new stuff over it. That happens a lot of the time.
Yeah, I think what you've said is very true, because I was kind of lucky enough a few years ago, at the end of 2019, so just before the pandemic, I was able to be present at the recording for Ori and the Will of the Wisps soundtrack in London, in Air Studios.
Nice.
That's great.
It was honestly the best day of my life. And watching the recording, it was very similar to what you said. You know, you would have a musician in the room and they would have on the paper a particular note to play. And I remember one guy, he kind of went like, you know, this isn't going to work. It's too high. It's, you know, I can't do it. You know, it's not possible. You know, can we look at possibly changing it? And those kind of conversations happened all day with different musicians, and they're kind of saying, this would be better in this instance, and then they change it. And it was just fantastic to see, you know. So it's nice to hear that happens over and over again with other people.
Yeah, I try to give the musicians, if I not know them already, most of them are my friends, but if I don't know them, I give them a call and ask them on what they like to play. So I would also write music that they most hopefully are happy to play, because you will hear it. If you write a lot of high notes and this trumpet player is really good in making airy low notes, it's just a waste of everything.
So I'm going to ask you both.
Yeah.
Sorry, I'm going to ask you both a question, and this is really important. So, what's your favorite soundtrack that isn't your own work that you listen to and you think that's incredible?
Some are rust free.
Okay. Fabio?
Probably Journey.
Fantastic.
Probably
I interviewed
Journey.
Austin a long time ago.
Oh wow,
he's
nice.
a good friend. I've got a signed copy of that on vinyl.
Oh, nice. Oh, super cool. Yeah, I love his work.
That is one thing I will say, is never get into collecting video game music vinyl, because it is an expensive hobby and heartbreaking. Like I contributed to an article that's coming out soon here in the UK in a newspaper, a well-respected newspaper, and I had to count the amount of vinyl that I had, just out of interest for the thing. I'm up to 133 now.
Wow.
So yeah, I have a particular thing about kind of colored vinyl as well. So if it comes out and it's colored vinyl and I like the game and the soundtrack, I'm having it.
Yeah.
And it's terrible because I order things and I forget about them, and then suddenly they just arrive and I'm like, oh, I forgot about that.
Good kind of surprise. Surprise Christmas.
Yeah, yes. That's nice.
Yeah. But it's really good because I'll never sell them. You know, they mean a lot to me. Because I have a tendency to buy something that means a lot to me. You know, soundtracks that I listen to a lot. You know, so like for example, every year Spotify does that Spotify Wrapped thing, where it tells you your most listened to album, you know, all the rest of it. For I think 5 or 6 years running straight, the top album that I had was Everybody's Gone to the Rapture by Jessica Curry. Because I loved that game, but the soundtrack was absolutely out of this world. So yeah. So I'm going to ask you another question. This is probably going to be our last question, so you can kind of think about this one. And this is for you both again. So what's next that you can talk about? We all know NDAs.
Yeah, like at the moment, we are trying to continue to exist as a game studio.
Yeah.
And we're trying to get
things rolling.
Things rolling. Yes, I think that's a great way to put it. And I'm extremely exciting, and I hate that I can talk about it, but that's just kind of how it is. Yeah.
I do ask this question on purpose, by the way, just so I can see your faces.
Yeah, I'm trying to exist as a composer still, and make a living out of it, and it's working out quite okay this year. But I'd love to make more video game music, soundtrack for games. But at the moment, I'm more working in theater actually.
Okay, so at least you've kind of got that buffer almost, so you can look to working on a soundtrack for a game, but then you've still kind of got stuff coming through because you're doing theater.
No, yeah, it's fine. I'm happy. It's working out quite well.
Good. Well, hopefully 2022 can just get better for you both.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Well, I just wanted to say a huge thank you for being part of the show. It's been a real honor, and I really wish you both the best of luck for the rest of for the future.
Thank you so much, Pete. It was really great.
Thank you.